So Mark Zuckerberg was up in front of the House Financial Services Committee yesterday, and it's amazing. There are one of the things that has to be resolved about impeachment is how are they going to what members of these committees are going to be able to ask questions, right? There's 100 members of committees that are literally working on different impeachment questions. The idea of them all getting 5 minutes is useless. The Democrats should smarten up. Certain individuals should swallow their egos and allow those members of Congress who know how to do this, do it. And then also have counsel, have lawyers, staff lawyers do it. There are a couple of amazing examples of people questioning Mark Zuckerberg. And some of whom were trained as prosecutors, others who are just very smart, apparently, relative to their colleagues, and they should just suck it up and appreciate that, all right, we're fortunate enough to have someone who can really do this. Here is AOC questioning Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg has already made it clear that the policy is going to be that we're not going to fact check politicians' ads. But this is just a stunning policy, and here is how AOC basically explains that to Mark Zuckerberg, and he's left basically a blubbering mess.
Announced recently that the official policy of Facebook now allows politicians to pay to spread disinformation in 2020 elections and in the future. So I just want to know how far I can push this in the next year. Under your policy, using census data as well, could I pay to target predominantly black zip codes and advertise them the incorrect election date?
No, Congresswoman, you couldn't. We have, even for these policies around the newsworthiness of content that politicians say, and the general principle that I believe that.
But you said you're not going to fact check my ads.
We have, if anyone, including a politician, is saying things that that is calling for violence or could risk imminent physical harm or voter or census suppression when we roll out the census suppression policy.
Pause it for 1 second. He made that up, right? He made that up. There's no census and voting policy. He just made that up in that moment because they hadn't even contemplated a lie like that. That's how ridiculous this multi-billion-dollar company is. When they roll out these policies, the amount of thought that actually goes into it, or the intellectual midgets who are making these policies. He made that up. They didn't have a census election policy. That's why he led with, we don't allow politicians to do anything that's going to harm people physically. Because he didn't have the answer, we have an election and census policy. He just realized, what I just said didn't address her question, so I'm going to make something up. But continue.
Also, an election and census policy is an anti-Republican policy.
Of course, but they hadn't contemplated anything like that.
Policy, we will take that content down.
So you will, there is some threshold where you will fact check political advertisements. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, Congresswoman, yes, for specific things like that, where there's imminent risk of harm.
Could I run ads targeting Republicans in primaries saying that they voted for the Green New Deal?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Would I be able to run advertisements on Facebook targeting Republicans in primaries saying that they voted for the Green New Deal? I mean, if you're not fact-checking political advertisements, I'm just trying to understand the bounds here. What's fair game?
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I think.
So you don't know if I'll be able to do that?
I think probably.
Do you see a potential problem here with a complete lack of fact-checking on political advertisements?
Well, Congresswoman, I think lying is bad, and I think if you were to run an ad that had a lie, that would be bad. That's different from it being, in our position, the right thing to do to prevent your constituents or people in an election from seeing that you had lied.
So you won't take down lies, or you will take down lies? I think it's just a pretty simple yes or no.
Congresswoman,
I'm not talking about spin. I'm talking about actual
yes, in most cases,
disinformation.
in a democracy,
Okay.
I believe that people should be able to see for themselves what politicians that they may or may not vote for
So
are
you
saying,
won't take
judge
them
their
down.
character for themselves.
So you won't take, you may flag that it's wrong, but you won't take it down.
Congresswoman, it depends on the context that it shows up. Organic post, ads,
Right.
the treatment is a little
One
bit different.
more question. In your ongoing dinner parties with far-right figures, some of who advance the conspiracy theory that white supremacy is a hoax, did you discuss so-called social media bias against conservatives, and do you believe there is a bias?
Congresswoman, so I don't remember everything that was in the question.
That's all right. I'll move on. Can you explain why you've named the Daily Caller, a publication well documented with ties to white supremacists, as an official fact checker for Facebook?
Congresswoman, sure. We actually don't appoint the independent fact checkers. They go through an independent organization called the Independent Fact Checking Network that has a rigorous standard for who they allow to serve as a fact checker.
So you would say that white supremacist tied publications meet a rigorous standard for fact checking? Thank you.
Congresswoman, I would say that we're not the one assessing that standard. The International Fact Checking Network is the one who is setting that standard.
Ooh. Well, no, wait a second. Hold on. Did he just get the name of that thing wrong?
The International Fact-Checking Organization?
Didn't he just call it the Independent Fact Checking Network?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Wait, go back. I think he actually got... This guy... This is unbelievable. This is just an unbelievable testimony. This is just... How... Is there no one at Facebook who says, like, you know what, Mark? Honestly, this is not for you, buddy. Go back. I think he got the name wrong. He's so flustered.
All right.
Congresswoman, so I don't remember everything that was in the question.
That's all right. I'll move on. Can you explain why you've named the Daily Caller, a publication well documented with ties to white supremacists, as an official fact checker for Facebook?
Congresswoman, sure. We actually don't appoint the independent fact checkers. They go through an independent organization called the Independent Fact Checking Network that has a rigorous standard for who they allow.
He called it the Independent Fact. Okay, stop. Okay, so it's either the International or the Independent Fact Checking Network. So they don't have any responsibility for it because they outsource this. And if the Independent or International Fact Checking Network hires the Daily Caller to do their fact checking, they're not responsible because they only subscribe to the Independent or International Fact Checking Network. Whichever one it is, I want to name our business that. Like, what? How is that in any way relieve Facebook of responsibility for what goes up on their site? Well, we subscribe to the Independent Fact Checking Network. I mean, it sounds like it's just I can't. That company should be broken into a million pieces.
Yeah.
A million pieces. First of all, the policy that they have worked on. He knows he's going up there. They announced the policy about politicians are going to be able to are not going to be fact checked, and he got stumped in about 30 seconds. Not even. In just literally 3 seconds, it took her to give him two instances that apparently they had never even contemplated could ever happen. And the idea that I don't even know that they're going to flag those things. But how are you supposed to know that the politician is lying if you get your news from Facebook? And
you're going to use the fact consortium?
Who's going to pay? Now, theoretically, right? These ads, they're paid content. So they're going to be on top of every other content. They're going to be prioritized because that's the way Facebook makes their money. So how are you going to get this information that she's lying, that these freshman Republicans, House members, voted for the Green New Deal, or that she's lying to the targeted African Americans, saying that the voting is the next day? How are you going to get this? How are we as consumers of politicians' rhetoric supposed to know that these politicians are lying because he wants to do a big service. I want the citizenry to be able to know what kind of character their politicians have. This guy's so full of crap, it's unbelievable.
This is about people power?
Yeah. Sam, we still got like 6 or 7 more clips of this.
Yeah, I know. I'm just so
save a little of your fire, bro.
I'm trying, honestly. Like, I feel like they should have been. And Mr. Zuckerberg, behind you is a Capitol police squad. They're going to put you into a car now and take you to prison.